Alex.
I'm Christina. And I'm Shelly. And this is Alexis.
And we are the Marketing Economists of America Club.
We are here to give you an infomercial about the American market economy.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
The advantages in a traditional economy involve all members to have an economic role that was originally set up from tradition. This allows the traditional economy to be stable, predictable, and acquire a continuous life for the whole community. The disadvantage of having a traditional economy is that it does not allow new ideas or new ways of doing things, simply because it is against their tradition. A command economy has the advantage of allowing their community the basic education, public health, and other public services available at little to no cost. However, the command economy also has its disadvantages, such as not meeting up with the wants and needs of its consumers, and requires a large bureaucracy that uses most of the community's resources. The market economy has the advantage of adjusting to change and allows individual freedom to everyone. There is a lack of government interference and an abundant variety of services and goods, which results in a high degree of consumer satisfaction. The disadvantage of a market economy is that it does not reward people who are too sick, too old, or too young due to manual labor. This also relates to the lack of public goods such as defense, universal education, and healthcare. Real estate is a good example of how private property is conserved and improved in a market economy. Homeowners improve and conserve their homes so that they can gain a better profit from the home when they sell it. However, not all economies have private property. There is no such thing as a private property in a command economy simply because the government owns all property.
The owner of the property has the power of property rights to sell and make profit from the land they own. For example, landlords can rent out their property to the people to make profit. They still own the land, but the people who are living there have to pay a fee every month or year to the owner of the property. Competition is very important to the economy because it allows sellers to lower the price of similar products in the market. This allows customers to be more attracted to the product because it has a lower price and a higher quality. If the product is expensive, it means that making the product is scarce. For example, diamond gems are expensive because the diamond miners have to go deep down to the cave to make these gems, and they have to extract it from the rocks. However, when the product is cheap, it means that the scarcity of the resource to make it is a lot. Therefore, the price reflects the scarcity of goods. In the market economy, the price is determined by the consumer and the buyer because both parties are indirectly negotiating the price to satisfy the consumer's needs and the seller's profit motive.
Competition between sellers and buyers help determine the market price. So the sellers come up with a price that they want to sell a product, for example, cookies, and then they'll discuss it with the consumers. Now, whatever price they decide to agree on, they come in conclusion with, that'll be the equilibrium price. Now, if the seller decides to sell cookies, for example, for $5 per cookie, they'll end up having a surplus because that's way above the equilibrium price. But if they sell cookies for 50 cents, they'll have a shortage because a lot of people will want to buy that product for 50 cents. Now, entrepreneurs, however, they come in and they make their own business. They generate income for us consumers so that we will be able to survive.
National defense must be handled by the government rather than the private sector. National defense, which can be an expensive enterprise, has no way of obtaining the amount of money it needs to provide for our national security. The government has to provide for defense using tax dollars. The government can use a tax system to regulate negative externalities such as environmental concerns. Companies that pollute the environment to drive down costs of production can be taxed by the government. This would then raise back the cost of production for that company. The extra tax dollars can be used to clean up the pollution. For example, if 5-Star began cutting down many trees for paper without reforestation practices to drive down the cost of production, which would then give them predictably higher profits and less competition, the government could regulate such a practice by taxing these producers to drive back up their cost of production and reforest the forest with the extra tax dollars. A property right to a good or service is the right to exclude others from using the good or service, and the right to transfer the ownership or use the resource to others. These rights must be protected by the government to prevent infringement on property rights that can occur privately by larger corporations. If Apple and Samsung got into a huge price war by lowering the prices of their cell phones to beat each other, they might end up hurting themselves. As a result, the two companies may decide to collude and set their cell phone prices at a compromised price, which thus eliminates any competition. It's the government's job to outlaw such unfair practices so that competition remains to drive down prices. Also, it is the role of the government to prevent monopolies, trusts, and unfair competition from disrupting the free market system. To do so, it implemented acts such as the Sherman Act or the Clayton Antitrust Act to give the government greater power against monopolies, while outlawing unfair practices such as price discrimination and collusion. The government must maintain a fair and competitive free market to protect the consumer's rights. Monopolies and trusts can unfairly raise prices, which would hurt the consumer, and so the government regulates natural monopolies to function as they would in a competitive environment, while eliminating other monopolies and trusts altogether. PG&E is a natural monopoly. Without government regulation, they can potentially raise prices of utility unfairly because they are the only reliable ones supplying electricity. To protect the consumer from having to deal with such high electricity bills, the government must regulate such natural monopolies like PG&E to operate as they would in a normally competitive environment.
Hello, I'm here to interview today the chairman of Oscar Howard Flooring. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Jenny Chen.
Hi, Ms. Chang. So I heard that you own a private business company. So do you consider yourself as an entrepreneur?
Yes.
Since you're an entrepreneur, since when did you start this business?
Our company started in 2001.
Wow. So was there a specific reason why you want to start this company?
Oh, because I like to business. Can make more money for my children.
So since as a chairman, you know that there's a lot of competition going around these days. So how do you make sure that customers go to your company instead of other people's?
Oh, our company we make a lot of advertising in newspaper, Yellow Page. Yeah.
So since there's a lot of advertisement that you've been doing, there must be a lot of customer. So was there a time of year of like shortage on the type of flooring? What kind of flooring was it that had the shortage?
Our company the high quality materials like the Central Smart Company because it is with very high quality and a lot of people like.
So since you said there was high quality, how did you make sure that the customer knows that hardwood floor is so much better than carpet?
Oh, because some children for carpet were allergic, but the hardwood floor can keep a house very clear and very high quality.
Well, thank you so much for the interview.